Well, in our final day from Paul's letter to the Romans, I want to read to you from the beginning of chapter 16. In chapter 16, I kind of think of this chapter as a little bit of the opposite of the old gospel hymn, when the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there. Some of you may know that hymn if you've been in church for a good part of your life. And it's an old gospel hymn singing about how when the roll is called up yonder in heaven, I'm going to be there. And Romans chapter 16 is kind of Paul sharing the role down here on earth, because the chapter is filled with the names of people who have touched his life and who are a part of his ministry and his outreach in sharing the good news. And what's particularly interesting to me is the first person he greets. So listen to Romans 16, verses 1 through 2. Paul says, I commend to you our sister, Phoebe, a deacon of the church at Cenchreae, so that you may welcome her in the Lord, as is fitting for the saints, and help her in whatever she may require from you, for she has been a benefactor of many, and of myself as well. So what biblical scholars believe is that Phoebe is actually the one who brought Paul's letter to the Romans. A woman. That she's the one who brought the letter and who likely read it and expounded on it to the church that met in, if you look at verse 3, Prisca and Aquila's, that couple, the church in Rome, likely was meeting in their home because they are greeted next. And then he goes on to greet all kinds of people and beyond the church in their house, and tries to name as many people as he can, which is a wise, savvy, good political move. But it's interesting to me that some people think women shouldn't preach or shouldn't teach and that sort of thing, and yet Paul's longest, most profound theological letter he entrusts to a woman, Phoebe, both to bring it, to read it, and I'm sure to answer questions and to expound on it in the presence of the church. I think that's pretty significant. But I think it's also interesting if you were to read through chapter 16, where he's throwing out all these different names. Greet Rufus, chosen in the Lord, and greet his mother, a mother to me also. And he just goes on, name after name after name, to greet all these people. And to us, they're just names. I mean, most of them, we have no idea who they are, what they did, why they were significant. And frankly, that's the reality for most of us in life. Historically, there's only a few people whose names go down in history like an Apostle Paul. Most of us are more like the people who are largely anonymous in Romans chapter 16. And yet, in their lives and in their generation, they loved their neighbor, they served the Lord, they were significant to Paul, significant to sharing the gospel, to being an instrument of God in their communities. And that's what we're all called to do. Most of us are more like Rufus than we are like Paul or even Phoebe, who's also remembered. But what a difference you and I can make when we serve the Lord in all that is good, to be a blessing.